moment right now. So we got to talk about what is the exit plan for XRP, at least for these YouTubers. If you guys haven't already, smash that like button. There is a ton of stuff we need to check out. But first of all, it's this one.
I think it's been a while since I've gone through my exit plan.
And yet,
Honestly, as
the
I've
most
gone
important
through it,
factor here is people just hold XRP. They don't know what the exit plan is. It's basically realizing your future, right? That's the most important factor. And for my personal opinion, I just feel like XRP could hit $10. It's a very big risk. There's a very big warning if it doesn't, because we could be entering a recession. But when it does, everyone is really excited. Look, 5 months ago he made a video, and now we're going to be seeing another one.
or even including that in the exit plan at all, that was something that was a
My
mistake and I
personal
didn't want to have to do. Now, that being said, with that exit plan that I created, I got down to a point to where I only had 10,000 left. And that was my forever amount. Why is that?
isn't like there are no point of selling if you don't need the money. Like even with stocks.
Included in there? I wanted to hold 10,000, but outside of the forever amount, if that makes sense. So in this video, we're going to go through my exit plan and have maybe a little bit of an update to how much we're looking to gain. Because honestly, I don't need a crazy amount. I know I could gain a lot more and I should gain a lot more, but I don't necessarily need a lot more. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So in this video, we're going to talk about that. We're going to go through my exit plan and hopefully you guys enjoy it. But if you could, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell for more of these videos. Also, make sure you check out the links for XRP down below, the sponsor of today's video. Definitely go ahead and check them out, but we'll talk about them more later. But XRP currently stands at a $3.10 price. It is down in the last month by 4.5%. In the last 7 days, it's down by 5%. In the last day, it's actually up slightly by 2.6% in the last day.
So this is a bit older, but the thing we have to realize is XRP at $3. I feel like people from, the past would love to see this price points. They would just love to see XRP at $3.
How much we're looking to make in the end with our investment, and based on the different things that are going to happen, the different prices that
also, if XRP goes to like $5-10, the risk becomes much higher because you have all these whales holding basically 10 trillion or let's say just 5 billion, and they can sell it. If they sell a very big majority, of course XRP will crash, especially as the price goes up. So consider that. That's what's happening with Bitcoin. There is more money in, but there's also bigger whales in XRP. There's some big whales in XRP right now, way bigger than maybe 10 years ago.
It's maybe even in different years. Now, this is not breaking down a timeline, so I'm not going to give you, oh, this is going to hit $100 in the next year or two, right?
Honestly, we don't know when XRP will hit like $100. Nobody knows. If somebody's telling you that he knows the exact date when XRP goes to $10,000 or $100 or $50, he's most likely lying, guys, because the truth is, we did not expect XRP to hit $3 so fast, and yet we're pushing for $5.
Not looking at that. I'm looking at the prices specifically. I don't care if it takes 10 years to get to those prices. Those are the prices that I'm going to sell at. Those are the prices that I'm going to make moves at. You have to have an exit plan in order to be a successful investor, because I've seen many people that have had healthy gains, but that have let it all drift away because they decided that they were just going to wait and never accept any type of profit. It's unhealthy to never accept profit. So let's get into the exit plan.
There's also, like, especially with meme coins, I feel like a lot of the top 3 cryptos will be much healthier than meme coins. But that's what happened to meme coins. They're very risky in 2021. A lot of people held even if they were millionaires or something and never sold. And a lot of these meme coins are gone now.
However, before we get into that, make sure you guys check out the link for XRP. This is honestly a is real, and you guys can get started here.
So that's pretty cool. I'm trying to look here, his chart. This is what I wanted to show you guys. Look at this chart. So he has 200,000 coins
and 10,000. 10,000 is sitting over in my Ledger wallet. I don't touch it. and 200,000 is what I'm going to be making moves with. You can see this breakdown as we go through it, but let me zoom in so you guys can see.
So
a little bit
10,000 is
more
like
of it.
$30,000.
So the first initial selling point, which is what I get asked the most, is actually at $5, not too far away from.
So yeah, a lot of people won't sell until $5. That is pretty crazy because that means like there's a huge supply that is not going to get sold until a certain amount.
Where it was and where it was at even the high point, right? At $3.80 or $3.60, it's not far away from that $5 level, which would be a $295 billion market cap, give or take, a few billions, or I guess millions, whatever, right? Or hundreds of millions. But at that point, I'm looking to take 50,000. So I'm going to take 50,000 of mine, which is 25% of my portfolio, and I'm going to take my initial investment plus a little bit of profit. The reason why I do that is not because I'm afraid of XRP falling, is because I always want some extra skin in the game to be able to put money aside.
That's $250,000. So he's saying he has $200,000 coins. And again, at $5, like the risk is going to be pretty high.
I'd put money to a place to where now I can reinvest into something else. Now I can find the next investment. That's the whole reason for it, right? To gain something out of it. And every other step is also going to be a point to where I'm able to gain a decent amount from that position. Its level is $6. I'm going to take.
I mean, we are aiming for $7 XRP holders, $7 XRP. So he's saying he's going to sell at $5. I feel like a lot of whales will start selling at potentially $4 because they have been buying at $3. That's just my opinion, right? But a lot of the whales have been buying a major supply at $3. And for them, that's going to be a 25% gain because they bought like $20 million of tokens. So that's going to be what, like $5 million of profit for them?
To gain something out of it. And every other step is also going to be a point to where I'm able to gain a decent amount from that position. Its level is $6. I'm going to take 5,000 XRP, right? That's $30,000. 5,000 at $7, 5,000 at $8, 5,000 at $9. Then when it gets to $10, I feel like that's a significant point. About 500 or 600 billion dollar market cap. I'm going to take 20,000, which is $200,000. The total amount up to that point will be $600,000 that I'm able to gain. Don't know the time.
So yeah, just like seeing here that XRP potential is to reach $20. I feel like this is an important scenario. Like $20 was not possible before, but with the XRP burns, with the interest rates, with all the cuts, this is a very big possibility that XRP will get to that stage. $15, $10. I'm not saying it will happen, but his price prediction, Matthew Perry is he's going to hold at least like until $10, $15.
Timeline on when that's going to happen. But the amount that I'm going to gain is about $600,000. Obviously, you have to include in taxes as well. But that's what I plan on doing. The next point, $15, $20, those will all be 20,000, 300,000, 400,000, and then it will go down again. Now, what I'm looking to do is every year, if it's going to get to 25,000 this year, 25,000 the next year, 25,000, whatever it is, or if it's shorter than that, I can gain $125,000 from XRP, $150,000, $175,000, $100,000, $112,000. And then at $50 per coin, I'm going to take 20,000, which would be my first time taking $1 million.
So that's the thing. People's dream goal is $50 for XRP because they would get a small investment to 1 million. It would be an insane amount. I feel like $100, is the maximum cap for XRP. But just the possibility keeps the whales buying. Even at $3, it is very bullish if the whales buy right now. Even at $3 when the risk is super high, at least compared to past price. Hope you're having a great evening as well.
What I'm looking for.
It's actually night for me.
Any investment, that's what I do.
But so we have a lot of XRP content to cover today as well.
Or
welcome to the stream.
Want it, right? I wouldn't even know what to do with that much money
using the right way.
Right? I want to take my time and be able to know what I'm going to take at certain prices, know where that's going to go as I decide to take that. Now, if it skyrockets up and I miss all of these and I make a bunch of money,
I feel like a lot of people will probably cash out just like they did, when XRP Ripple hit 1 cent, a lot of people sold right after it was launched. So it's always going to be like an endless cycle of new buyers coming in and basically whales coming in and new whales going out. That's what happened with like Bitcoin, for example. A lot of people sold their Bitcoin for $1,000. And now we are seeing, their regrets. Are people going to have, the same opinion for XRP? Let me know that in the comments below. But look at this video. You need to hold some XRP right now. They said on air XRP is the one. Is XRP truly the one? Because it is on live TV right now. And we haven't seen it on live TV before. Smash that like button, guys. XRP on live television. Again, this is pretty huge news.
Oh, just said live on air that digital assets are going to be vitally important to the financial system. She also said that all digital assets are not created equally. I think she is telling people here that only some of these assets are worth putting their money into. And we know that Franklin Templeton filed for a spot XRP ETF. So let me play this out. We also have some clips here. Donald Trump Jr. is live talking about crypto is the future of finance in America. We have Tim Scott at SALT talking about how important digital assets are. We have some other related XRP.
So every single day we are hearing more XRP news. Every single day, which is absolutely incredible. Seems like XRP is changing in front of our eyes. But Gemini partnering with Ripple amid IPO isn't like Ripple asking for an IPO in 2026. That's an initial public offering, which means XRP could explode even more. Potential Ripple IPO valuation 2025. Things are looking cozy for Ripple at the moment. There's a reasonable chance the appeal is going to be dropped. There's speculation of a Ripple IPO, much like Microsoft solution, MCTR. That's just a Reddit post, though. Nothing is confirmed. So Ripple holds about 80 billion XRP, our current value of approximately 120 billion. So I don't feel like they're going to value the XRP price coins to the Ripple IPO.
News towards the end here that we're going to get into.
My non-financial opinion is both like XRP and the other one is good. But again, I don't hold anyone. I just have XRP myself.
But listen to this.
What message does it send that Michelle Bowman, a Fed Vice Chair of Banking Supervision, is attending the conference? What does that signal to the crypto industry? What does that signal to the financial services industry?
Well, I think it signals that this is becoming mainstream, right? Digital assets are going to become mainstream. Now, that doesn't mean all of them. I think there's going to be some that, like in anything, you have to be sort of careful and really understand the space.
There are some that you need to be careful. You need to understand the space, right? She's saying not all cryptos are created equally. Some are better than others, right? That's what I'm hearing here.
But again, this underlying tech.
That's the thing with like XRP Ripple. It's always going to be evergreen. It's always going to be around because for a simple reason, they built up this utility. They built up its brand on the past 10 years.
Technology is so powerful that bringing it together, and I think a recognition that it is important for regulators, it's important for, for traditional financial people to understand the space and to figure out how to converge these things together.
Whoa, what? Let me hear that again.
They understand the space. But again, this underlying technology is so powerful that bringing it together, and I think a recognition that it is important for regulators, it's important for, for traditional financial people to
Wasn't the US government like pushing utility tokens like Ripple, HBAR, XRP, all of these into going ahead, pushing towards having utility? And having all these banking licenses? That's what the future of crypto might be. We are basically on the waiting line because there's so much regulation right now.
Understand the space and to figure out how to converge these things together.
Banking, traditional finance, digital assets. How do we all work together to combine this into the next financial system, right? We know that Franklin Templeton has filed for a spot XRP ETF. If the CEO, right, is telling America that not all cryptos are created equally, only some will survive, only some are worth actually investing in, putting money into. We have a record. We can look. Franklin Templeton has made one known filing for an XRP ETF aiming at tracking the spot price via Coinbase custody. I also wanted to explore, they also filed for a Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs, filed for a Solana ETF.
Yeah, so all of these, filings, if they were approved for Bitcoin and Ethereum, it's very likely they already have connections to be approved for XRP ETF. They probably do their research.
And it also talks about notable competitors, but they've only filed for these four, it sounds like. Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and Solana. Love to hear that. Here is Donald Trump's son.
Crypto is going to be the future of finance.
Yeah.
Okay. We were doing everything imaginable in the prior administration to send that to other places. People want to be in America. They want to invest in America. They want that stability. What they needed is some guide rails. They needed a framework in which they could work, even for us in the crypto platforms that we were developing, whether it was American Bitcoin, whether it's World Liberty Financial. We didn't get into that because we knew all that much about crypto. We got into it out of necessity because we were getting debanked. There wasn't a person in this city that I couldn't call and get a loan for a real estate.
I feel like this is an older video, but this is Donald Trump speaking, right? And Eric Trump, his son, just for some context.
$1 trillion industry, and it should be based here in America. America should get the tax benefits of all of that. They should have the innovation, the growth. That's strategic thinking, and so I'm super excited about that bill because I think it's going to really make sure that America is the home of crypto and blockchain technology.
I agree.
So literally Eric Trump, which is the son of the president of the United States, goes ahead and says that he feels the future is crypto on live air. Can we get any more bullish than that, guys? Absolutely insane.
Agree with most of what he's saying here. Of course, you never miss the opportunity to plug your own company, right?
That's also
World Liberty
true.
Financial, cool, whatever. I do like that he's out in front.
But I feel like also like rich companies, getting into crypto, of course they're coming to make money. They're not coming, to fully help. They're coming for two things: to help the crypto regulation, but they're also coming to actually improve the whole system, to improve the whole ecosystem there is. The other one is because it's going to be profitable. That's what companies do. They want to make money. That's what Ripple is doing. It's being profitable for itself and for the shareholders. Brad Garlinghouse could be a trillionaire, could be because of the technology he's providing.
Talking about it, sooner or later, some administration was going to say, hey, crypto's the future. Let's go ahead and go all in on it. I cannot knock the Trump family for seeing what was blatantly obvious around the world. They're going to make billions of dollars. So what? It doesn't bother me. Some of the stuff bothers me, but that particularly, it doesn't bother me. Someone was going to do it. It's done. Since taking over as chairman, banking...
They just see an opportunity. But that's the good thing. Crypto is seriously under-tapped in my opinion. And them coming in is going to be another big update.
GOP Senator Tim Scott has worked tirelessly to advance digital asset legislation. Let me play this for you.
I believe there were 0 hearings on digital assets during his tenure. Yeah. Now you've been leading the charge. How many have we had?
I can't even count them, to be honest with you. We've had so many hearings, markups, conversations. Just the other day I had the administration over. We are working as a hand in a glove, because if we're going to make this happen, we have to make it happen right now. I think this is the most important time in American history for the evolution of this innovative opportunity. And so I continue to have hearing after hearing after hearing. And frankly, we're passing bills. We're not just listening and talking. We're actually...
There's probably not going to be more than, right now, the moment we have, there's not going to be many more opportunities like this. This is literally the few options we have right now in crypto history.
Getting things done. Yeah. And that's what this industry deserves, because it's what the American people deserve.
I love all of that. Tim Scott, you keep doing what you're doing, man. Get us that Clarity Act.
So yeah, the Clarity Act still needs to pass, guys. If you guys did not know, the Clarity Act is not fully confirmed, but it did pass into the House, if I understand it correctly. So it needs to first pass, and if it passes, it's going to go along the other news like we have interest rates.
Get us that crypto regulation in America. Get Americans what they deserve, a seat at the table of the next financial system. Love to hear it. Let's keep it going. Here is Hypestrat, Chair and former Barclays CEO Bob Diamond warns that big banks must embrace blockchain or be left behind. What have we been saying for years on this channel? That the banks that do not adopt this technology will not be banks in 5 or 10 years.
That's the issue right now, is these banks take way too slow. Like a day is way too slow for fast transactions. and Ripple is probably going to try to save them. And maybe other competitors of Ripple will try to also come in.
It might even happen sooner than that. You got to understand that people want the latest and greatest technology. And if you refuse to give that to us, we have the right to take our money to another bank that will offer those services. So
I know a lot of banks are doing like instant transfers, right? And that's why they're most used. They literally got from not being known in the last 10 years to being one of the most used in the banking system. So these are the new fintech banks. I can't name them on stream, but these banks already, I'm not sure if they use Ripple technology. Probably not. Probably they use some sort of its own technology, which is more expensive. But they have become the next powerhouse, basically. They entered the stock market. They completely changed forever.
you better get in, you better start playing ball, you better start understanding the technology, you better start making partnerships and building infrastructure, because if you don't, good luck staying a bank in this time, right? Young people, middle age, older people, all of them are loving the crypto space. Not as much the scams, right? Because that is everywhere, and I wish we could do something more about that. But everything else, man, woo, we are getting set up for a mega run here.
David and I have spent the last...
It's very bullish if basically the mainstream media starts talking about crypto. The only thing I'm wondering, why isn't the mainstream media in crypto yet? So like, most of the news is reporting about it, but most people have not been buying it. They've been just... I heard there are more people started installing the apps as well.
4 years, really starting with an understanding of blockchain, the infrastructure before we moved on to stable coins and tokens. I think the future of financial services will have blockchain as the underlying technology. I think it will be complete over the next decade. I think any large financial services organization, whether it's Barclays or JP Morgan or Citi or regional and community banks, that doesn't understand this and adopt the technology of the future will be left behind. I think when you think about transactions between large institutions, today a very large US institution sending a very large billion-dollar payment to someone in China or someone in Japan or an institution in Singapore basically goes to one of the large money center banks. It will take 2 or 3 days to arrange that transaction. It'll include a lot of KYC, and it will include a very, very large fee. So over a number of days, that transaction occurs with someone in the middle, a large money center bank. And with blockchain, that middle person is removed. The trust is there. The transaction isn't in 3 days. It's in seconds, 24/7. And very, very low cost.
I feel like with AI, the last 10 years, we saw the technology advance like 10 times more. So a lot of these people who have been using the old systems will be forced to change. That's the thing right now. AI has developed so much. It's literally not just AI that developed, right? It's technology in general. It's everything is becoming faster and more streamlined. And, some people still want to use the old system. But that's what's happening right now in the current economy is they are being replaced. A lot of jobs are being replaced, which is very unfortunate. But literally there are more jobs created on one side, and on the other side, we're losing so many jobs.
Great trust and accountability. So do I believe that the larger banks, the biggest and the best, are already investing significantly in understanding the technology around blockchain? Absolutely and unequivocally.
I should have started with that clip. Holy smokes. That was incredible. I'm speechless. I'm speechless. You have some of the biggest names. This is the former CEO of Barclays, basically saying crypto is the future. Banks either get on board or they're done. The biggest banks have already made strides. This is why Ripple was sued. Billions of dollars are at stake right now. The biggest banks are going to be the biggest losers if they cannot figure this technology out.
So why are the $1 trillion banks literally partnering up first with Ripple? Could be just one of many new partnerships, right? Could be many more in that sense. And this is just the first wave of banking that joined XRP.
The smaller to medium-sized banks, the credit unions all over the world will have the same power as the big banks now, and they don't have to grovel at the feet. They don't have to pay for it. They can go to Ripple, they can go to Circle, they can go to HBAR and say, hey, I need some of that sweet, sweet infrastructure that we call blockchain. And they're going to say, Mr. Banker, Mrs. Banker, whoever it is, we got you. We're going to help you save 80 to 90%. We're going to get your payments there instantaneously. We're going to provide KYC, AML. No, we're going to provide all the compliance that you need, right? Bro, this is done deal. This is done deal. Woo! All right, let's bring it down. Let's bring it down. Let's calm down. Okay, all right. Gemini collaborates with Ripple. We did talk about this. I did a video about this, but it's being talked about more and more. And this is on CNBC, so I'd love to hear it. Let's just play this 35-second clip.
Let's talk about the top stories. Crypto platform Gemini entered a credit agreement with Ripple Labs. A Friday SEC filing reveals Gemini can initially borrow up to $75 million with the option to decrease or increase the amount to up to $150 million. Requests made beyond that cap may be made with Ripple's stablecoin. The credit line will bear an interest rate of up to 8.5%. Now, this comes after Gemini, founded by the Winklevoss twins, confidentially filed for an IPO back in June.
I feel like this could be the first steps for Ripple to go public.
The same filing from Friday reveals the platform's mid-year total liabilities were more than $2 billion.
Really quickly here, I did a video, of course, on this, but I also did a video.
Filing unveils a credit agreement with 5 million increments expandable to 150 million Ripple USD stablecoin. Like, this is just the first step for Ripple to overtake the other large stablecoins.
About Ripple becoming a lender of last resort, Ripple becoming their own version of a digital IMF, Ripple becoming a central bank. That is actually something that, that topic is starting to look more and more like sense, right? As Ripple gets their national banking charter, right? They're going to get it. Let me just be clear with you. They're going to get that national bank charter, right? The Trump administration has done everything they can for the crypto industry, especially dropping a lot of cases, right? And helping out a lot of these people and these founders and freeing up all of the craziness that happened over the last few years. I am extremely thankful for that. And I think that is going to allow Ripple, Circle, and all of these others to become their own banks. And I think this is what banks truly fear. And it's going to be exciting. And so also, this is an older clip. I know, Sensei, why are you playing older videos? I understand. Just deep breath. We're talking about, cross-border payments set to reach 30 trillion overnight and how XRP and USD can solve that at scale.
Reaching 30 trillion is going to be very hard overnight if we cannot sustain right now. We aren't even in testing phase, guys, or live phase for Ripple yet, so we're still a far way ahead on that one. We still got a long way to go.
I want to play this clip because it's a great clip, and then we're going to talk a little bit about what we need to happen. So let's get into it.
Is doing. Coming to CBDCs, why I am saying it is very important, because there are several, there are now several new animals or birds, whatever you call them, they're floating around under various names. Somebody calls it stable coins, somebody calls it cryptocurrencies. Our point of view is that let us be very careful in interpreting and understanding what consequences they have. On stable coins, the basic fundamental question that arises is, as the fundamental question that begs an answer is whether governments and central banks are comfortable with private currency. Currency is a sovereign function which the sovereign delegates to the central bank in countries like India. So therefore, are we comfortable with private currency? So therefore, these new technology products which are coming and styling themselves as great innovation, their financial consequences, their negative consequences for domestic financial stability, for global financial stability, for domestic monetary system, for the global monetary order, all that needs to be understood. And we have published, RBI, I have myself spoken about it. So I'm not going to list out what are the potential threats. Right. They pose a threat, all kinds of threats, terror financing, money laundering, apart from, currencies like emerging market currencies, which will sort of cause the central bank itself will lose control over the monetary system. There are lots of challenges, and this can become, these are highly risky. Now, we don't want that kind of a thing. In fact, on such matters, whether it is stablecoin or it is cryptocurrencies or whatever you call it, I think we need to fully understand what are the risks before sort of trying to legitimize them. We need to know before entering the water how many sharks are there inside the water. I think that is how I would put it in a very commonplace language and very bluntly. Now, So therefore, CBDC is important. The world is moving towards technology, and CBDCs have a major role because
CBDCs will have a major.
I feel like a lot of people misunderstand CBDC, central bank digital currencies, and Ripple's partnership with the banks. So Ripple's partnership with the banks is to make transactions cheaper and faster. CBDCs are basically the banks owning their own coins that they can give out to people and use for everyday transfer. It goes a lot more in detail into that, but that's the basic idea of it. And a lot of people confuse these two. So yeah, just know that CBDCs are way different than what you might be expecting.
Role. So let's see what Ripple would need to do to really kind of take over this global payments market. Massive market opportunity. The global cross-border payments market is enormous. 31.7 trillion B2B flows and up to 250 trillion, including all volumes. Real-time gross settlement, it processes 30 trillion alone annually. XRP as the backbone of the global liquidity. XRP Ledger offers high throughput, fast finality, and low-cost transactions, making it attractive for handling large payment volumes.
Didn't XRP include all of these things like 2018, 2020, all of these stuff? Like they were adding this stuff in because, you know, they kind of predicted correctly this stuff with the banks is going to happen, like that the banks will need that. So XRP's big risk paid off.
Volumes at scale. XRPL's decentralized DEX that was built in, the first DEX ever created, natively support auto bridging, ensure high liquidity and efficient currency swaps with XRP used as the main bridge.
The issue is there's going to be a lot of competition to Ripple USD. There's going to be way more competition than you guys think. So the presence of Ripple USD attracts banks, fintechs, and large corporate who need large stability for settlement yet benefit from XRPL's efficiency. But it doesn't need to compete with like USDC or USD Tether, right? It can be its own thing where the banks use it, for example, for loans. So it doesn't even need to compete with a top 10 stable coins. It can just be, you know, used for whatever the design is.
As an for institutional stablecoin Catalyst, RLUSD is designed as a US peg stablecoin for the XRP ledger. It allows institutional players to settle and manage treasury operations efficiently without the exposure to volatility to XRP. Does talk about CBDCs and interoperability. This is what I wanted to get to. Central bank digital currencies are now in development by major economies will require seamless interoperable for all international payments. The thing is here, guys, if every CBDC platform has built their own kind of technology and none of it interoperates, we've recreated the exact same siloed system. So there needs to be a technology that can interoperate with all of these different systems. Enter Interledger Protocol, right? Enter the XRP ledger. XRP's role as a bridge asset makes it a prime candidate to connect various CBDCs across jurisdictions.
Connect various CBDCs across jurisdictions. Didn't Trump want to ban CBDCs anyway? So I'm not sure how much they will be used, but it's definitely still a good idea because some of these CBDCs can be used by Ripple. Now, I don't know, like if they're already partnering up with banks, they're going to enable them to have their own currencies as well. So to explode to 30 trillion, major banks, corporates, and payment processors must adopt XRPL for cross-border payments. Guys, we're in very early stages for that because Ripple still hasn't launched even fully live yet. So don't expect 30 trillion XRP to happen like anytime soon. But they are definitely calling for it. You know, people are preparing, and crypto markets, they still take some time.
Center of future digital payment rails. Network effects and liquidity rails with RLUSD and XRP functioning side by side. XRP can provide instant settlement for liquidity across borders, jurisdictions, and asset types. As major financial institutions adopt these rails in real time for real-time payments, the resulting surge in transactions volume could drive trillions in settlement actively on the XRP ledger, supported by RLUSD and the stable intermediary XRP as the underlying settlement for the bridge. What needs to happen for XRP and RLUSD to explode to 30 trillion? Major banks, corporates, and payment processors must adopt the XRP ledger for cross-border payments, move significant treasury operations onto RLUSD, and use XRP consistently for settlement. CBDC integration with RippleNet and the XRP ledger must happen at a global scale with interoperability demands fueling further utility for XRP. Institutional trust in RLUSD as a stablecoin, XRP's reliability must be cemented through.
So yeah, right now, Ripple cannot hold what the banks want. It can only hold a certain amount of transactions, and it might take some time, I'm guessing 1 to 3 years, before we finally see Ripple going for that push where it could finally hold banks and actually trillions of transactions. So when people tell you, yeah, it's going to do trillions of transactions, it's going to be much harder than you realize. But with the advancement of technology, AI, Ripple has 900 employees. I'm sure they will figure it out. It's literally $1 billion question.
Successful real world integrations. This is kind of like going to BNY Mellon and having them be the custodian in the meantime for your reserves. That is the bank of banks, $53 trillion under management. There is no other bank that has that much money. Ripple is working with the biggest and best partnerships.
And just getting its own banking license basically means they can issue their own stable coins, right? Or at least they can process, in and out. Before they had to ask like another bank if they can work with them. Now Ripple is going to be licensed to do all these transactions for the ledger for themselves, which is going to save them a lot of time and fees.
America, just to name those two biggest ones, right? Ongoing technical improvement.
XRP holders, yep, we have another 48 hours left. Let's check this out, guys.
We got a lot to cover. Yes, we have another one of those 48-hour scenarios playing out. This is important, and yes, I wrote that.
What do we have 48 hours for? Now, 48 hours, again, in 48 hours happens. This is what a lot of people told me, but this time, it is something very important, guys. Jay Powell to deliver Jackson Hole address under fire on multiple fronts. Federal Reserve is under bombardment and battling with the central bank. So a lot has been happening. Jay Powell at 2023, the federal chair's job in Wyoming on Friday will be more complicated than normal. There's a lot of drama, and these 48 hours are going to determine what happens to the prices as well. Not just for XRP, I feel like for the whole market.
Is set to give his very famous Jackson Hole speech address this Friday, 48 hours from now, and everybody is going to be watching to see what he says. Chairman Powell is under bombardment. I would say that is a massive understatement. From
like everybody is watching, all XRP eyes are on this.
The current administration, President Trump, and everybody, including Wall Street, wants the Federal Reserve to lower that base interest rate. Why? And what does this really mean and matter to you and your crypto? Because look, here's the thing. The Federal Reserve, the interest rate, and by the way, I'm tired of talking about this too. Okay, point blank, I'm telling you. Okay, it's one of those things where I wish we didn't have to talk about the Federal Reserve. I wish we didn't have to talk about the base interest rate. I wish we didn't have to talk about interest rates.
Guys, if you don't know, the interest rates really do impact the prices of XRP a lot.
Inflation, all that, but it does have an impact on crypto. It does have an impact on you and your XRP. Okay, it does.
So interest rates getting cut, for example, when we talk about 25 interest rate cut, 25 points, it means that the market goes up because it means we don't have inflation or we don't have risk of inflation. So if Trump is saying, let's get interest rates to 1%, it is for two things. It is the real estate market will improve, because it's going to be easier to get loans for businesses like at 1% interest rate, right? So that's the thing. You will not have from the banks, you can get at 1%. And also, it means that the stock market goes up because the money is more available. It's less scarce. It's not at such a depth. So guys, let that sink in, that interest rates getting cut usually means that we see another rally.
All right. And so with that, here's where we're at. So the expectation now is that the Federal Reserve is going to lower that base interest rate 3 times before the end of the year.
That's going to be September.
A lot of runway left. I mean, this is August. This is the 8th month. So we've in essence got about 4.5 months. And so now the expectation is that the Federal Reserve is going to lower. And they've been very hesitant, reticent, and quite frankly have refused to lower that base interest rate. And, that's where we're at. And there's a lot writing on this. And there's a lot writing on this Jackson Hole speech to see if he will finally give some indicator, Chairman Powell, the Federal Reserve, of what they're going to do. But here's what's going to happen. He's not going to show his cards very much. Okay. People are going to literally be dissecting every word he says and the tone in which he says those particular words. Okay. So I'm just saying that is where we're at. And that's where we're going to end up, is that I think this Friday, we might see the crypto market bounce. If his overall tone is dovish, that's the word associated with Federal Reserve and what they do or do not, or hawkish if it's bearish. So dovish equals bullish, hawkish equals bearish. All right.
And the markets, even without the interest rates cut completely, have still seen, price increase. That to me is very bullish. Bullish means the price is going up. This is definitely very big, especially if Eric Trump is calling for 1 million Bitcoin. Like, it is coming at some point. We don't know when it's coming. But just if we look at the past market, it could very likely be happening, right? Not 100%, but the thing is, XRP $15, $10, we don't have the exact dates, but the thing is, the interest rate, which we haven't seen cut this year, would definitely help out XRP. It's one of the things that people have been asking for.
So again, we have a 48-hour situation playing out, and and what's going to happen? I think he might give us a little bit. I'm hoping that his tone is dovish. If we were looking at some of the financial reports like the CPI, the PPI, they've been coming in pretty good, in line with. It's looking like, again, tariffs haven't negatively impacted the overall market. Yes, I know that there are good sectors and bad sectors, but the bottom line is that we as crypto holders, we need the Federal Reserve to lower that rate. We need, as XRP holders, the Federal Reserve to lower that rate, because it does have an impact. It does have a corollary into the crypto market. Okay, so that's Friday. Okay, so stay tuned for that.
So I feel like this in August is going to be one of the bigger news we have. It's not getting any bigger than this, because September and October are usually the months that really change everything.
Okay, looking forward and kind of beyond that, and what are we expecting? I think we get past this Friday. Then we don't have a lot out there outside of President Trump, Zelensky, Putin, what's going to happen in a couple of weeks when they meet. Hopefully it's looking like we will see some sort of a ending to the war, the conflict there. It needs to be over. I think everybody wants it to be done. And that could be a positive, booster and bolster the overall market there. Okay. So by the way, links in the description below. Go pick.
So yeah, I feel like it's pretty clear that this interest rate cut would save XRP from $3, like this slump we have been seeing XRP in.
We're going to see a bounce. So if you want help making even more money, because look, this is like an example right here where we bounced up and went from there to there. That's a 15% positive move there. That's my software giving you that buy and sell alert. Let me show you here with Ethereum. Look, this is an example of it.
So yeah, you can see pretty clearly that exactly at interest rates here being so low, XRP would definitely be here back at 3.66, especially with the interest rate cuts. Because if we look at past history, look at what happened when Donald Trump got elected president. We were kind of expecting the markets, we were still 50-50 on the markets, but the market still rose right now back. That is why people are calling for ETFs. It's because it's all these indicators that are really gonna, in the end, pump XRP. Also, huge Ripple XRP update. What's the huge update? Let's check it out.
Update. This is incredible what is taking place right now in the crypto market, especially XRP, which I think has actually bottomed and we are about to pump massively. Not financial advice, just my...
So yeah, Miles G is calling for the bottom of the XRP price. I feel like this August has been tough for some XRP holders because it's first time for them to see that. But I remember 2021, 2023, August was never that perfect for XRP anyway. So I'm not too worried about it. And also September. But once you wait, you really start to see the changes around October. At least historically speaking, right?
So make sure you guys give this video a thumbs up. We have so much to talk about, so much more happening this week.
Smash that like button, guys.
So if we take a look at XRP here, which is absolutely incredible, we can see XRP has already bounced up to $3. So we literally went from 281 today all the way back up very quickly to $3. One of the most bullish coins, and I'm a professional trader. I trade a lot of different coins other than XRP. One of the most bullish coins in every single crash is always XRP. If you look back, every single XRP crash, you can see it always bounces up and rips up one of the hardest out of all cryptos every single time. And this is such a bullish coin. The reason because it has such a powerful community.
Powerful communities are very profitable today. It's actually what's driving Bitcoin, Ethereum's price is social volume, guys. Remember this word. Social volume is what really rose XRP. Even when Bitcoin was down, for example, XRP went up because we are seeing so much news in crypto and updates. It's what really changes XRP's expectations for people.
It has incredible use case.
Like when they see news every day, when you see news every single day, you start to believe and think about it. And that's why XRP also reached $3 because every day it had something to talk about.
And it is just a strong coin, one of the strongest in the world. So XRP has pulled back into our buy zone. This particular gray area here is my buy zone. This is the most ideal buying opportunity as a trader or investor, and especially if we are looking for continuation to the upside. So XRP, in my opinion, has bottomed. We formed a higher low from this correction. So we've been correcting from almost $4 to $3.70. We've been correcting. We've been pulling back. We bottomed, and we have now.
Now Miles G is saying we're bottoming at 2.73. I feel like if we enter below $2 XRP, we're definitely seeing the start of a bear market because that is when a lot of whales will start to sell. If they bought it at $3, they might take a loss. Like a lot of people will take a loss, and $2 is somehow we will see another rally because a lot of people are saying at $2, you know, they will hold. But we are still far from there. That is why another rally is very likely possible. Like this is still very normal because we are still at the start of this first rally we had back in July 21st. So it is the start of this first rally, and we could be going back up. Just that it holds July 21st is still very, very bullish.
Formed a higher low that is considered very bullish, and that is an indication of an uptrend that we're going to be going higher. I think in the next couple of weeks, with rate cuts, with peace, with Russia and Ukraine, XRP could be seeing $5 to $6 to $7 in the next couple of months. But in the next couple of weeks, we could be even seeing XRP above $4. Things are going to get absolutely crazy. Right now, things seem bearish and scary, and you should be selling. But this is the time, in my opinion, not financial advice, you should be buying. This is what I'm particularly doing, me and my community. And if you guys want to follow my trades as a professional crypto trader and copy out what I'm doing.
That's what the whales are doing, buying right now. The question isn't, you know, if it's going to go up. Because personally, I feel like it's going to go up. Maybe even to $4. The question here is, when will it stop going up? That's the bigger question I have for XRP. That's the most important question I have for XRP because I'm worried that, you know, a lot of these whales are buying now at $3 and to sell later at 3.5, maybe $4. So yeah, just let that sink in for a second. That's what I've been seeing in the past. Some of the whales might hold until $5. So yeah, still not that bad.
Seeing what I'm doing and have my constant market updates and be a part of my profitable trading community, go ahead and join my WAP below. And if you guys want to learn how to trade cryptocurrencies like me full-time, go ahead and join the VIP tier. Taking a look also at Bitcoin, we can see Bitcoin has bounced very, very strongly in this buy zone as well. Bitcoin has also formed a higher low. And one thing that's quite interesting, every single time Bitcoin pulls back 10%, it rips up massively. So Bitcoin pulled back 10% prior, and we also see about a 10% pullback here. You see it.
This is the thing I wouldn't agree. We also saw Bitcoin pull back 10% and then ended up losing everything. So you can't trust Bitcoin, you know, but seeing the current scenario, interest rate cuts and everything like that, it is definitely looking very nice for XRP.
10% pullback here, a 10% pullback here. So Bitcoin likes to correct and pull back about 9 to 10% exactly in the number, and then it starts ripping up. So Bitcoin is in that optimal buying zone. You take a look at Ethereum, look at this incredible bounce today. Ethereum has already bounced 8%. And as you can see, every single pullback for Ethereum lately has been 15%. Look, that was 15%, 15%.
It's very obvious some whale bought the $2.7 dip, to be honest. You can see the dip only stayed there for like 1 day. 1 day. You know, it tells you something.
And here, go all the way back here, you can see Ethereum likes to pull back exactly 15% almost every single time on the number, and it starts ripping up. So we are starting to see altcoins come into their technical buy zones, and the numbers that they typically go to, the numbers that they pull back to typically, they're coming into those exact levels right now. So this, all of this is lining up with confluence that this is a potential bottom. If you take a look at the S&P 500 here, you can see that there has also been a very strong bounce with the S&P 500, with the NASDAQ as well. Very, very strong bounce, but ultimately cryptos, like I told you all last night, and I've been telling you guys for quite some time, they are being manipulated. There's no bad news at all driving the prices.
There's definitely the most positive news I've heard this year. We haven't had one bad indicator except the unemployment rates, which aren't even that bad. Like, didn't we have, you know, the president firing a lot of people and then it immediately bounced back? We had the, you know, they were saying the tariffs cause inflation. We're still waiting from Jerome Powell to confirm that. So there are some bad events. There are some bad news, but the good news outweighs far beyond the bad news.
The markets are just a little spooked because they were expecting rate cuts to come in September, and some of the data is pointing that might not happen. But if you take a look at the federal funds rate, the CME rate possibilities for the Fed, it's still pricing in, which is a very high number, by the way, 82% chance.
So yeah, it doesn't seem even that we're getting only 25. It seems like we're getting like a 50. So 0.5 is going to be a very strong market indicator
that the Fed is going to be cutting rates by 25 basis points in September. That number was 100% until last week's PPI data. We do have some more data tomorrow, going to most likely be a non-event. Everything should fall in line with expectations. Then we also have Jerome Powell speaking on Friday. So the reason why we've been dumping and crashing is because people are panicking. It's a lot of manipulation. People are profit taking, and they are de-risking ahead of Powell on Friday. They were de-risking ahead of today's FOMC minutes, which did not reveal much of anything.
Sometimes like this politics news really affects the price mostly.
You know, they're just gurgling the same words they say over and over. We're waiting for inflation. We're waiting for this. So the reason why the market's been selling off because people have been de-risking because they think Powell is going to somehow crash the market, which it's not going to happen. There's still CPI next month and a bunch of data sets that's going to most likely confirm this number even higher and potentially even confirm a 50 basis point cut for the month of September, which would be extremely bullish for cryptos. So everything is bouncing. Everything is actually starting to look good. We are still in a bull market. The market is not topped out. The market is not over, and we are nowhere close to a top.
I fully agree. Everything is pointing, like the job data, the productivity, all of the news is still figuring out exactly as a plan. Even, guys, mark my words, even if September isn't that good, it's fine. It doesn't have to be perfect. Not every month has to be perfect.
If you take a look at the Pi cycle top indicator for Bitcoin, it's called every single Bitcoin top within 5 days. Every single Bitcoin cycle has called it. That hasn't crossed yet, and it's nowhere near crossing. And when it does cross, I will let you guys know. But it's most likely predicted to cross sometime in October and November, potentially all the way into January. So we still have months left. We still have another massive leg up, in my opinion, for altcoins and for cryptos. And another very interesting thing, guys, I mean, look at Dogecoin. It is absolutely ripping. The Bitcoin dominance chart is literally nuking. This thing is in a strong downtrend. It is crashing very hard. And when the Bitcoin dominance is in a downtrend, I mean, look at this, guys. Look at these crazy, violent rejections on Bitcoin dominance. It is in a very strong downtrend, and it has got some ways to go. When this is happening, altcoins are ripping and outperforming Bitcoin, and we are moving into altcoin season. That's why every single time we crash, Bitcoin bounces up 1%. Altcoins are bouncing 20, 30, 50, 60.
It doesn't really scare me if the institutions and people still keep buying at 120K. It would scare me if XRP was at 10 cents now.
60%. It's absolutely incredible. So it looks like we are going to be heading to this key support here in the Bitcoin dominance, which is 54%. When this is happening, guys, altcoins are going to go absolutely bananas. Now make sure you guys are using my Algo Sniper trading indicator, which you guys...
So yeah, it's pretty clear that the markets are going to improve for XRP, especially if billionaires like Raoul Pal are calling for the next hype run for XRP. Look at this. Raoul Pal is calling for the biggest crypto wave we have ever seen. We have never seen productivity so high, and these billionaires are backing it up by buying, you know, and they're talking about XRP live here.
And Bitcoin's next big move depends on how this plays out.
Look at this here.
And our expectations of a weaker dollar and lower rates and potentially lower oil prices, this should actually extend further. So we should see a full ISM cycle above 60, probably into Q1, which is one of our ideas.
Guys, don't worry if Q4 is not going to be as great as as previous quarters. What I'm saying, months when I mean quarters, is because we literally have also 2026, which is historically also a pretty good year.
About an extended cycle. So we should see the business cycle be strong.
It's also going to be different with Trump, being the president. The productivity is going to be way different. The crypto market cycles are going to be more inflated, in my opinion. They're going to be way more impacted by the government, which they weren't before. They were more of a free market as well.
Yeah. The market narrative is tariffs are going to lead to recession. Can't you see? What we do not see is any evidence of that.
That's what I'm telling you.
Within our forward-looking data, which should be pricing this stuff in, but is not pricing in a recession. 2008, what was different is that was a collateral crisis. That was before QE was used to stop collateral falling in value. So that was a full-on debt deflation that was stopped via the printing of money, the debasement of currency, which lowers the value of the denominator and optically makes assets rise. Once you do that, you stop the risk of a collateral crisis, which stops a debt crisis. You pay for it via debasement of currency, but it's a slower mechanism than losing 75% of the value of stocks. But basically, all liquidity is there is to service the government debt. This chart is incredibly important for you to understand. So zooming in where we are today, you can see that US total liquidity, so that includes the banking sector now, which is the new mechanism by which they're absorbing the debts and mandating banks to hold more government bonds. You can see it follows this debt to GDP chart. And here's the chart that drove the everything code. This is the interest payments going forwards. And here is liquidity rising to meet it. This is how you serve.
So guys, I just want to inform, this is delayed effects as well in the markets.
The massive debts. You pay the interest. You do it via currency debasement. That's what liquidity is. It's a fancy word for currency debasement. And total liquidity is the way that they've been doing it. We know that the dollar is weakening. We'll talk about that later. That's a big part of this. We know that interest rates are coming lower, which is part of global liquidity and also part of financial conditions. We know that the US has been using a drawdown in the reverse repo and the Treasury general account. It will rebuild because of tax season coming now, but generally the US is injecting liquidity. It will not use the balance sheet yet, but it may well do later in the cycle.
That's what the government confirmed, is they're not going to be using taxpayer money to buy crypto, which they were rumoring before. It's not going to happen. But something different is going to happen for XRP. We don't need the government buying it. It would definitely help, but it...
Need to see economic weakness in Q1 all the way back in October, November of last year. Saying that Q1 is going to be weak and it's going to set the Fed up potentially to cut rates. All sorts of things are going to happen. The economic data has been weakening, and this is playing out as we've talked about. Even Scott Bessent said the things you're worried about now, you won't be worried about soon, because he knows that financial conditions are easing so fast. Yeah, I mean, this is a dramatic easing in financial conditions and we haven't really got going yet. This is the market pricing excess fear. This is the VIX going to 60. We didn't have the same in crypto. This has been driven by equities, because obviously you don't tariff cryptocurrencies, but you tariff equities, and the market is struggling to price this in. But again, once China's deal is agreed, and the ugliness of the negotiation, let's see how that goes. But once that is agreed, there is a big gap versus what liquidity is doing, and we will have a very fast snapback, I think. And generally, as people pull in from the risk curve, alts come lower, but they come back faster, which is that.
So that's exactly what's happening right now. Altcoins are still down compared to 2021. We could be seeing altcoins come back to all-time highs with this new deal that Raoul Pal is talking about.
Alt season chart we talked about before. I know nobody believes in it now. There's too many altcoins. It's only Bitcoin dominance forever.
It's not only Bitcoin dominance, it's still XRP still has its time to shine. It has not even entered the markets yet. All the growth we saw now was from the lawsuit over from 50 cents to $3.
It will most likely, probabilistically speaking, play out like it's always played out, which is as the ISM rallies through 50, this recovers. What happens is alts outperform.
Raoul says it's the fastest pace of adoption of any investable asset in all of human history. By the end of 2025, there will be 1.1 billion active crypto wallets. The pace of growth is hard to comprehend, and it will be the fastest accumulation of wealth we have ever seen. This is the conclusion of a career's worth of research. And every single chart and piece of research leads to the same conclusion. Liquidity drives everything, and crypto will be the best performing asset of them all. Raoul has been stressing to investors for months that all the factors are beginning to align right now, a period characterized by parabolic moves upwards in crypto prices.
The longer term time horizon is everything. Zoom out, remove the noise, and most importantly, expect 35% pullbacks frequently in Bitcoin. And that means more in alts. How similar that 2017 cycle was, that kind of weird double correction it had. It's very similar.
We haven't seen this cycle just yet. They're calling for a banana zone. Now, I don't believe that is about to happen like 3 trillion to 100 trillion. I feel like it's going to take way longer than people expect. That's just my honest thoughts, because the markets here at 2020 and 2014, 2011 were way smaller. That's why we could see this banana zone growth. Now we're at like 4 trillion to 100 trillion. It's going to be way harder than like 10 million to 1 billion, for example.
Price time structure. And the next phase is the next phase of the banana zone, which nobody believes. You get trolled on Twitter all day. Banana zone cancelled. Look at the chart. Does this look like banana zone's cancelled? Or are you just impatient? Yeah, this is what's getting me very excited.
I feel like the banana zone, basically when the XRP really grows, is right now not gonna, be like in the future. I'm always surprised what happens in the crypto markets, but what's really gonna happen is it might take a longer time, but we will still see the growth. Not like before, not like 2012, but the growth is strong, right?
Is when you go from the very big picture, which is where we started, you then zoom in on the business cycle and the liquidity cycle and market sentiment, and it matches the technicals. It makes you and I get very, very interested in the opportunity going forwards and the risk return. And that's the key thing of this whole presentation, is the fear is overextended versus the potential opportunity set that looks like it's set up. And also what's interesting about that chart is, okay, so the correction is in line with expectations. Then again, you've got the big picture macro, the business cycle, the liquidity analysis, the sentiment analysis, and the technical analysis, all telling you that maybe everybody is over-fearing and that the upside projections are the probabilities are for upside as opposed to downside. The liquidity analysis. The cycle didn't get going because we had the same tightening of financial conditions in Q4 2016.
Yep.
The cycle didn't actually get going till the end of April. and then it accelerates.
Raul Paul believes like XRP will hit, $20, $30 with this banana zone. Would be definitely nice, but we are still far, far from this. So could this be this year, next year? Who knows? But crypto keeps surprising me, especially if this does happen. He's a billionaire. I'm not a billionaire, so maybe he knows more than me.
And again, it's very similar to us is where we are today. By Wednesday, if it continues to count as it does, and then next week should confirm a weekly 9 as well. So again, it is, opportunistically speaking, incredible time. But hopefully you can understand that nothing happening here is out of the ordinary apart from the peak fear narrative.
So yeah, what we see right now, the markets is completely normal, guys. Do not be afraid of this.
Sentiment is wildly overdone here. And don't forget, coming out of, we're going to tariff everybody a gazillion % will be the walk back, the discussions, the negotiations, the agreements, and all of that will take uncertainty out of the market. So on a forward-looking basis, ignore all.
This is why Trump is doing all these tariffs. It's literally for negotiation. They don't even affect the crypto markets. Like, they don't affect the stock markets anymore. When we saw that the first time, the markets took a panic, but after 5 times, when they were literally on pause for 90 days, everything went fine and okay.
All the work that we've just done, is there likely to be less uncertainty or more uncertainty in a month's time? It is almost 100% likely to be less uncertainty. Markets hate uncertainty more than anything else. They overshoot when they're trying to price uncertainty, and then they'll price in the outcomes. So it is usually buy the room, sell the rumor, buy the fact when it comes to negative news. This is where we are. We're in a time, it's similar to 2018 when the Fed pivoted. These kind of things, even 2008, these things don't come often. Yeah, because if it's interesting and you buy it down 70% for its first correction, or 80%, whatever the number is, that's when you can make some real money if you get something that has real activity and catches a narrative.
Powell stresses this pattern is normal and necessary to flush out weak hands and reset leverage.
This is literally what's happening in the market right now. It's dipping a bit and then it's going back up. This is what Raul Paul is saying, it's exactly the scenario we're seeing now in August.
Highlights Bitcoin's high correlation to global liquidity, which remains supportive, even during temporary liquidity air pockets. He believes the market is setting up for another strong leg higher. Similarly, Bitwise CIO Matt Haugen supports this view, pointing to a dip-then-rip pattern, where sharp pullbacks are typically followed by massive rallies, up to 190% gains historically. Both argue that patience, not panic, is key. The banana zone is alive, just misunderstood. As the momentum in the crypto market is building and institutions are positioning themselves, Raul Powell says everything is about to change.
Guys, realize this is how the markets move. It's completely normal. The markets don't immediately go up. Tons of positive scenarios have to happen, like rate cuts and all of that, which really change the game.
He says the next phase of the crypto cycle is critical, and he's stacking big bets in his portfolio right now. With the next bull market, and with crypto and technology being the biggest investments this year, Raul Powell says that he's remaining bullish on digital assets after significantly increasing his position size during the last bear market. The former Goldman Sachs executive gives a portfolio update on which crypto assets have the biggest upside in the coming months. He says we're about to see massive capital pouring into the crypto space. With major pension funds and institutional investors on board for the coming cycle, Raul Powell predicts that crypto is on track to be a $10 trillion digital asset class. Powell says that this cycle will separate itself from its predecessors, as devalued fiat currencies will push more adoption into the crypto market and bring in more capital than we've ever seen before. Raul Powell isn't just calling for a rally, he's practically waving the green flag on what he thinks could be the most explosive crypto cycle yet, running straight through 2026.
I feel like it makes pretty much sense, right? That we're going to see that. We've been waiting that for a very long time for these type of cycles. And Raul Powell is calling for the biggest rally we have seen to date. You know, and it really does make sense from Raul Powell. That's what he he predicted it in 2021.
All the classic signs
For
are flashing.
XRP.
Global liquidity turning higher, Bitcoin dominance stalling, and Ethereum sitting in prime position to lead the next wave. Bitcoin is one that is headed for an unprecedented price milestone, and Raul foresees a financial tidal wave that will catapult cryptocurrency to new highs. Raul Pal says the crypto world is on the brink of something massive, a seismic shift for Bitcoin and crypto in what he calls the banana zone. As the momentum is building and the institutions are quietly positioning themselves, Raul says everything is about to change. If history's any guide, we know what happens when the M2 money supply starts climbing. Capital races down the risk curve. The first stop is Bitcoin, and before long, the entire altcoin market starts lighting up. The stage where prices don't just rise, they launch. Think parabolic moves, broken records, and price targets that used to sound impossible, suddenly looking conservative. So if Pal is right, we're standing on the edge of a once-in-a-generation window. One where
we saw these market cycles repeat itself every 4 years, guys, for XRP. And the market cycle for XRP with the highest productivity, better than 2021, which I feel like 2021 was much more inflated, is just beyond the corner, which is the biggest important. Even billionaires are calling for this. They're calling for this big market cycle that we are usually seeing when everybody is panicking. So let's see what Katie Wood has to say. Again, she's also a billionaire and she's been talking about XRP for some time. We have been waiting for XRP to grow. And, you know, Raul Pal told us, hey, it's going to be okay. This is exactly the patterns we are seeing. But Katie Wood is literally being more risky when others are fearful. Smash that like button.
And the single most powerful gateway into digital assets. Bitcoin has seen an unprecedented price increase in the past week, climbing over 6% to over 123,500 today.
Like 600%, and people are worried that XRP is at $3. Just look out at the chart.
While Ethereum aims for a breakout high, sitting at just over $4,700. But here's where it gets even more interesting. While Bitcoin secures its position as the foundation, Ethereum is quietly becoming the institutional cryptocurrency of choice. From Coinbase to Robinhood, the big players are choosing Ethereum for all applications. Kathy says this convergence of crypto and AI is setting the stage for an entirely new financial infrastructure. Now, with US regulation shifting from hostility to clear guidance, Wood believes we're entering a high momentum phase where adoption accelerates, unlocking opportunity on a massive scale. The bottom line, if her thesis plays out, Bitcoin will soar to well over $1 million. And Ethereum could cement itself as the backbone of digital finance, and the investors who understand this shift early will be best positioned for the opportunities ahead. Let's get right into the latest interview with Kathy Wood, as she lays out why she believes this crypto cycle will be unlike anything we've seen before.
That our bull case is well over
this one. Right now. Look at what she says about XRP. She's literally been very vocal about the new wave, like a small crash and then a new wave of a pump happening.
Of that stack. But I think the much bigger force right now is it's the gateway into digital assets for institutional. It's a new asset class. That and the really substitute for gold as a store of value, another use case. Those are the two biggest, and those we have not changed at all our opinion on. So I think we can safely say that our bull case is well over $1 million in 5 years. Again, because we're primarily in the public markets and because the ecosystem, Bitcoin, Ether, we do have private funds which had a very heavy weighting in Solana relative to ETH until recently. And, you know, we made a very good move at a good time as Ether started to outpace Solana. So those are the big three for us.
And XRP outpacing both of them like this year, which is pretty much insane gains, right?
Us, and, you know, we're watching layer twos, of course, as well.
Like technology, working with banks, fast transactions, that is what is $1 billion industry. And that is what Ripple is offering right now.
And I think you'll see us, as we're trying to educate our primary client base, go more deeply into, the big three, talking in terms that financial analysts and investors will understand, looking at returns relative to risk, calculating the Sharpe ratio, the Sortino ratio, and so forth. The other thing we're going to do, like we have done with Bitcoin, Ether, Solana, and then the longer tail. So, and what this does is analyze on-chain or look at and evaluate on-chain analytics, the kinds of signaling properties that these protocols have that we don't have in equities or bonds, because the transparency just isn't there the way it is in blockchain technology. So we'll do.
Whales are already stocking up on the XRP. We can see these on-chain analytics. They stocked up at $3.
ETH, Solana, and others as time goes
XRP.
on. And as they begin to show themselves as interesting, especially to institutional investors.
Institutional investors, which are going to be buying billions.
Was all around crypto. And of course, now they're at full throttle. If you saw their analyst day and the debut of some of their crypto offerings, I think they're playing to win big.
So no MicroStrategy in that top three?
Well, no, because as I said before, with MicroStrategy, yes, that is a bet on Bitcoin. That's obviously the biggest asset in the space. We feel certainly that Coinbase is powered importantly by Bitcoin, because where Bitcoin goes, others follow. So we felt that we had a good broad-based holding there. We do think it's important now that Ether is showing up as an institutional preference, that it's important for us to be there. We have been.
That's what I'm telling you guys. XRP, an institutional preference. Like, why do the banks want to work with XRP and Ethereum? They want to work with them for this simple reason, is because they have utility. They're going to have utility for the next 10 years and have fast transactions. That's what Katie Wood is warning us about.
Saying for quite some time that the economy has been in a rolling recession. When the Fed jacked rates up 22-fold in little more than a year's time, one sector after another began to give way. So this is going to be with us for quite some time. So I think we've been saying we believe that thanks to certainty now, more certainty about tariffs, tax policy, government spending, and regulation or deregulation, that we're getting ready to move from this rolling recession into a much stronger than expected recovery. In the next, I'll say 6 to 9 months, it will become obvious. And because that is if interest rates don't come down. Then the big surprise in the latter part of this year is how low inflation is going to go.
Kathy is certain on where Bitcoin and Ethereum are headed.
And XRP. That's what I've been warning you guys. Katie Wood is literally calling, for the long-term growth of XRP and the demand of XRP coin.
But this is where it gets even more critical. Now she digs into the forces that could accelerate or derail this cycle, and why it's happening faster than Wall Street realizes. Kathy also shares her updated bull case, and why she believes this isn't just another bull run, but a permanent rewiring of the financial system. If you think the first half of this cycle was exciting, what's coming next could change the way the world moves money forever.
And of course, you have the executive branch also supporting it mightily, proposing that we include Bitcoin in Treasury reserve. So you've got, I think we're going to have support of all three branches of government are going to be supportive, which is a big change. This is the next big wave, and it's a huge efficiency move for the financial services sector. If anything, what we're seeing with the stablecoin movement, which is how people, is the on-ramp into decentralized financial services. They're all backed by Treasury securities, which de facto they're backed by the dollar. So we think that movement is gaining momentum here, especially now Bitcoin was rules.
Now, this might be in the future because according to my research, the government has announced that they will not be buying any XRP with the taxpayers' money. So just keep that in mind, that this is what happened about a week ago. I'll keep you guys updated on that, though, when the government has said, you know, holding crypto for treasury.
It's 21 million units, and we're nearly at 20 million now. So that scarcity value will continue to support Bitcoin going forward. We went through another period like this. It was 2017, and Bitcoin that year went from less than $1,000 to $20,000. That was the ICO boom, and most of those failed. So it's buyer beware. Yeah. Be careful, and that is why we need some regulation here, because it's out of control, as I think you would say. Bitcoin's a completely different animal, though, completely different. But if you look at Bitcoin, it has served as both a risk-on asset, so that's tech, yes, but also a risk-off asset. When we went through the regional bank crisis in the U.S. in the spring of 23, Bitcoin took off. Why? Because there's no counterparty risk in Bitcoin. If big tech sells off, will crypto go down significantly? The correlations are there is a correlation, but it is not as high as, you know, small cap equities to large cap equities. The more institutions get involved, the more correlations will go up. But right now, if you look at the statistics, the correlations in terms of returns and risk among these assets, very different. And if we're right, the most massive concentration in the market in history, worse than the Depression, is probably going to give way to a broader-based bull market. We're seeing that in our portfolios, and it really did start right around, actually, the day after the election. And I think one of the
So yeah, the news wave of cycle has already happened, guys, and we are in it. The new wave of basically a bull run. Imagine, when did XRP go from 20 cents through its way to where it was, you know, $3.6? Exactly after the election or announcement of the election. That was the day where XRP went up 50%. And again, this election is going to hold for the next 4 years, which, if according to the markets going well, we could be seeing a 2-3 year positive market movements, which is huge for XRP.
Most important things is going to happen is regulations coming down. Even in AI, in the United States, their regulations started to intrude in a technology that is today where the internet was in the early 90s. We don't even know what we have yet. We're as excited as back then, but now is not the time to regulate it heavily.
So here's the reality. We are on the edge of one of the most powerful alignment of catalysts in crypto history. Rate cuts, market structure clarity, institutional green lights. These aren't just headlines, they're fuel.
And all of that is coming in Q4. Rate cuts, clarity bill, all of this news is coming in Q4 of 2025. So I will keep you guys updated, but it seems pretty clear. She's saying that all this technology, it's not time to regulate it, but accept crypto what it is right now and accept it into the markets, the government working with it.
250,000 for Bitcoin. That's what I think.
Now is the time to pay attention. Markets move fastest when the majority are still distracted. And by the time everyone's talking about new all-time highs, the biggest gains are already gone. Whether you lean Bitcoin, Ethereum, or a balanced basket of quality crypto assets, the next year could define your portfolio for the next decade. The bottom line, this isn't just another cycle. This is a structural shift in how the world values, trades, and stores wealth. The institutions are here. The technology is ready. And for those who prepare now, the rewards could be life-changing. Make sure you're subscribed and have notifications on, because in the coming weeks, we're going to track every move, every catalyst, and every breakout as this next crypto wave builds. The opportunities are coming.
Seems like we are going to be seeing a massive hype wave, especially in October. Guys, I will keep you updated with more content, but it's very clear Katie Wood is asking basically, you know, to understand right now that the generation, the 3 years of recession we have been seeing is now over. It's finally over, and the 3 years that we needed to fix since 2022 are finally resolved, and we can move forward with all this technology having no limits. For example, XRP can now finally work with banks after their lawsuit is over. There's really an unlimited potential now for XRP where it was capped before. I will keep you guys updated with more content. Smash that like button and see you guys soon.